Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see how I am dressed here, winter has finally came to Saskatchewan. We got our first dirty dump of snow yesterday, so everything is a mess out there. It's now into the freezing temperatures, so hopefully wherever you are, it's nicer than where I am. Anyway, today I thought I would talk about a motorcycle that I actually have underneath the cover, which is the Lowrider S. And I wanted to put it against the Indian Sport Chief, which is pretty much Indian's answer to the Lowrider. So I thought we'd go over that and let's see where they stack up. So the Harley Lowrider came out in 1977. It was thought up by Mr. Willie G. Davidson, the father of the Fat Boy, by the way. So if you know anything about this channel, you know we like him because of that. Came out in 77, ended up going into a Dyna platform, I believe, around 1995. And then after 2018, moved into the Softail platform it is in now. The Indian Sport Chief came out after Indian kind of revamped their Chiefs around the last couple years or so, but they are quite similar other than that, and both bikes are basically what you would classify as a club bike or club style bike. Now what does that mean? There's a few different meanings people could have for it, but as far as I'm concerned, club style means motorcycle club style, that kind of Sons of Anarchy, that West Coast styling, the sleek, stripped down, quick cruiser. And I know that the club guys that I knew anyway, they all basically rode Dynas or baggers. It was usually all about either speed or crunching miles. But both bikes that way they're fairly similar. So as far as the weight of these machines go, weighing in this corner, we have the Harley Davidson Lowrider, coming in at 679 pounds. And on the other side, we've got the Indian Sport Chief coming in at 685. Now, those are wet weight. Now, what I mean by wet weight, I mean with all the fuel, all the oils, everything ready to go, sitting curbside for you to get on it. And in this one, we got to give that slight advantage, that little bit of poundage less to Harley. Now let's have a look at the power plants in these guys. In the Harley Davidson Lowrider S, we have the 117 cubic inch air-cooled Milwaukee 8. And on the other side, we have the Sport Chief's 116 cubic inch air-cooled Thunderstroke. And I got to say, I give the points to Indian on the name side of things. I think Thunderstroke sounds way better than Milwaukee 8. But anyway, if we're looking at actual power numbers, Harley's got that 1 cubic inch. It does have a little more power. It's got about 125 foot-pounds of torque. That's compared to the 120 in the Sport Chief. As far as the horsepower goes, Harley estimates 103 horsepower, and we have the Sport Chief coming in, I think, about 96. So you do have a little bit more extra in the Lowrider S. However, to be honest, 4 or 5, one way or the other, it's really not going to make much of a difference, and most likely you probably won't even feel the difference. Now, as for the agility for these bikes, we have to look at things like lean angle, for example. Now I have my notes over here just so I can reference all the numbers, but we have Harley has a slightly better lean angle coming in at 31.3 compared to the Indian's 29.5. Not much of a difference there at all. You know, the Lowrider also has about 1 inch less wheelbase compared to the Indian. The rake angle is identical at 28 degrees. With the difference comes in the trail, with the Indian having 4.4 to Harley's 5.7. More trail equals a slower steering response. So they're pretty close here. You know, you might want to give the lean angle is going to go to the Indian, and you're going to have better trail with the Indian. again, one might negate the other. I don't know if you're better off one way or the other. Suspension-wise on these bikes, in the rear anyway, it's basically a 2-to-1. So we have Indian has the dual rear shocks, kind of like a dyno would have, and Harley, of course, has the monoshock. The other difference about this is that the monoshock on the lowrider has about almost a half-inch more travel at 4.4 compared to 4 on the Indian. So I do like that a little bit better. However, on the front, they both have inverted forks. I can say from riding the lowrider, those inverted forks are excellent. However, the Indian does have a 0.1 inch travel advantage on the lowrider in that area, but I think suspension on both of them, whether you have the monoshock or the twins, are going to be good either way. How about fuel? Well, you've got a 4-gallon tank on the Sport Chief, and you have a 5-gallon tank on the Lowrider S. Now, if you look at the numbers, Indian says that it will get about 1 mile per gallon more as far as fuel economy goes at 48, I believe it is. However, you're obviously going to get more range out of the Lowrider S because of that extra gallon of fuel. For me, I would rather have the little bit bigger tank. It doesn't have an issue with the weight on this bike, so I would go with the Harley as far as, the fuel goes. Now, the next category is where I think Indian excels over Harley, and that is tech. And that is something that Harley has always been criticized for not having the most up-to-date or best tech. So the Lowrider S, we have the 4-inch analog tach, a small digital section that includes readout for speed, gear selection, fuel level, clock, tripometer, and fuel range. Now that's all well and good. However, you compare that to what the Indian has. The Indian comes with a color TFT touch screen that adds Bluetooth connectivity, navigation, audio inputs, as well as readouts for air temperature and altitude, a trip computer, and ride mode selection, which includes standard and sport. It also provides a USB charge port and a 12-volt outlet. And you heard me right, the Sport Chief, has modes. Sport and standard. The Lowrider does not. As far as I'm concerned, Indian takes the cake on this one far and away. Now let's get to another thing that for me is a pretty big issue, and I'm sure it is for you folks with the cost of living out there, and that is price. What do these motorcycles cost? Now, this is going to be in Canadian dollars, mind you. I'm from Canada. So we have the Lowrider S coming in at a base price of $24,249. Could be better, could be worse. However, the Indian starts at $24,899. So it's a little more expensive. However, when you start really adding on the accessories that you're going to put on these bikes and the fees, the surcharges, who knows what the dealer markup is going to be as well. One could be cheaper than the other. You could come to a situation where the Indian is actually cheaper than the Harley, depending on which dealership you're with. So again, base price, they are a little bit different. And Harley is the slightly less expensive of the two. So the question now becomes, which bike is better? Who's the winner here? Well, I don't know if you can really say one's the winner over another one. I mean, these bikes are they're different, but they're the same. And you have the Sport Chief as a direct competitor to the Lowrider S, so that's not surprising at all. If you look through the spec sheets, you're going to see a lot of numbers that are pretty close, if not the same, in a lot of areas. If it was me picking, obviously I'm, you can tell I'm a Harley guy, for better, for worse, I guess. So I would go with the Lowrider. I like it more. I like that little bit more power. I like the styling of it better. I like the Harley over the Indian, and that is completely subjective. And I'm not one of those people that's going to say all Harley motorcycles are better than others, because they sure as hell aren't. I'll tell you that right now. But a couple things I do like on the Sport Chief. It is a good looking bike, but I also like the tech that comes with it. And I also like that it comes with Pirelli Night Dragons as opposed to the Michelin Scorchers on the lowrider. Not a big fan of those tires, but the differences are really quite small, and it's kind of a crapshoot. I don't think you could go wrong with either bike. They'd both be a good choice. But anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with that. You guys can make your own decision on which you think is the better bike. But anyway, I'm going to go out there and move some more snow. So I guess until we see you next time, see you later.